Best Ball Mania, $25 to win $3 million. I am your host, Sean Moran, joined by Aidan Haller. On today's draft, we have a very special guest joining us. He's the co-founder of Own the Moment NFT. He is a best ball expert at Establish the Run. He is the author of the On the Clock article, the creator of the Best Ball Pyramid, and last but certainly not least, the winner of Best Ball Mania 1, Justin Herzig. Justin, how are you doing, man?
Gentlemen, appreciate the invite. Appreciate having me. I'm doing great. It is, we are recording this with like less than 3 weeks left until the regular season. Thankfully, that's actually my off season. This is the regular season, but that's when we get to kind of sit back, relax. But we're in the grind now. We're in the home stretch. Can't lay it up. We're gonna be drafting.
Let's do it. Let's see what we're picking today.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to be drafting from the 7 spot here. Hopefully, we're able to see one of these wide receivers fall. Justin, when you're picking from the middle of the draft, is there usually a priority target you like to go with?
So 7th spot, I'm actually pretty happy with in the current kind of landscape. Normally, I'm a first overall pick, always the best. The gap between 1 and 2 is substantially more than kind of any other pick as you go forward. And this year, like I've got Jefferson and tier of himself. But like honestly, if I don't have number 1, I really like the 7 or 8. Or I really honestly the 7, because I personally have Austin Eckler just right up there with McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill, Cooper, Kupp, and that tier. And usually I end up getting him around this 7. If you end up getting Kelce, you're still content with that. And we'll see how it goes right now. But if we could get Josh Jacobs in the 3rd round, I'm still seeing him falling. That would be a fantastic ad with people if they haven't reacted quickly enough, or if they don't believe the news that Josh Jacobs is going to be back and then just hold out.
That news dropped today, right? Was that official that the news came out on Jacobs, or was that just like he's most likely going to end it?
So it started off by the Las Vegas, I think the Journal, but like a local Las Vegas newspaper. From there, it then got quoted and picked up by, I'm not exactly sure the name, but picked up by a larger account.
Dove.
And then from there, just kind of spiraled out. And the quote is saying that, according to multiple sources, Josh Jacobs will end his holdout and return sometime prior to the beginning of the season. When that is, not really sure. Does he miss week 1? I think they play Denver. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, like if that is accurate, if he's coming back, he should be being drafted around the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, running backs don't have a ton of leverage in today's marketplace anyway, so I guess that's not a huge surprise. I think we were all kind of banking on him returning at some point, so it is positive to hear that this is a likely
the other
outcome.
news that goes, the other news that just came out in the past probably 15 minutes, half hour, is that the Indianapolis Colts have allowed Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade. The way that I see that is they understand that there's not going to be a substantial market for him, that he's probably not going to get paid the amount that he wants. And so similar to what the Ravens said with Lamar, is like, yeah, go out, have fun, see what you can get. And just like laughing, snickering. I don't expect them to actually trade him because the team would, so we grab Kelce and we go forward, and that's what I would do here.
Let's do it. Kelce it is.
With Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, you thinking Kelce?
I'm cool with it. Yeah, we don't have too many Kelce builds. I know we kind of go back and forth on like the price of the cost up there, but I think at the 7 spot, the value makes a ton of sense there.
There's a strong kind of tier drop after Kelce to the rest of these. I do have Diggs a little above the others, but like from pick 9 to pick 15, 16, 17, it's really flat. Yep. And so I don't really love getting one of those back end ones because just not much differentiation. But to put a bow on the Jonathan Taylor one, not expecting them to actually trade him because a team would have to, one, provide the Colts with substantial amounts to actually get it done, which like, I don't know, maybe that's a 2nd rounder or something. And then they'd also have to be willing to kind of pay a new contract to Jonathan Taylor, which, given the current market of running backs, that seems unlikely.
Especially him coming off his ankle injury last season.
Yeah, even getting like a Christian McCaffrey type return feels unreasonable.
Yeah,
for Jonathan
and
Taylor.
McCaffrey has that dual threat ability that makes him a little bit more of a digestible trade piece because of what he offers in the pass game. So I guess Justin here, we'll probably have a chance at the Mahomes Kelce stack. Is that your preferred way of approaching it, or do so many people have that? So many people have that build. Do you like to maybe pivot off and take like a T Higgins and try and build off like a reverse Bengals stack off of Kelce?
Yeah, so my probably, I don't know, hottest take from an ownership standpoint is I think I own virtually zero Patrick Mahomes. It's probably around like 1% to 2%. And that's because I am almost never stacking. I'm not actually getting that much Kelce because I grabbed Eckler ahead of him. Yep. 2, I'm never reaching here to take Mahomes because it is extremely common and you're overspending for it. And then when I actually have Mahomes is like my QB3. So that leaves us here where I have Jalen Waddle kind of the end of a tier above these others. And I think like, hey, going with a Waddle Kelce is a pretty strong start. Don't mind Derrick Henry if you wanted to go running back or Olave as a wide receiver.
I like Waddle too.
Yeah, I was hoping Pollard fell to us there, right?
Yeah, that would have been nice. But Waddle's an interesting. There's a lot of options you can build off of too because Tua goes so late or just later. So you could do some nice stacks with Waddle.
Yeah, that's a very good point is once you realize like, okay, I have Kelce. I guess there's a chance Mahomes falls to us. Always obviously possible. Mm-hmm. It's the rarest one because you normally have the Cincy people fighting for him as well. So it's just less likely. But assuming he doesn't fall to us, as we draft wide receivers, if I'm doing a tiebreaker, I'm kind of leaning towards wide receivers that I know I can have a good chance of getting their stack partner later on. What's interesting here as well is like, okay, so we obviously know Tyreek Hill is in the 3 spot. That gives us, if we did want to take Jalen Waddle, we could get him with pick 90, which is the 8th round. And like, you're not going to have the Tyree team reach on him. So that's a possibility for if you want to start kind of
that's right on to his ADP. I think he goes right at 90 on Underdog. So we'll have to keep that in mind. So in round 3 here, are you looking to continue to go wide receiver? Like, are you one of those people that says I take running backs later on, or does it matter in terms of like draft room dependent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not locking myself into anything here. I'm probably like a best player available. If everyone that we like is kind of gone, I honestly don't mind grabbing a Lamar because 2 factors come into play there. One is you have the Jalen Waddle bring back for the week 17. We also, because we didn't grab a wide receiver in the first round, we're going to want to make sure we get a little depth on wide receiver, and we can grab Zay Flowers at that like. It's a bit of a reach, but you get Zay Flowers at 79, and maybe Bateman falls to us at 103, yes. I think is the right number. So like you set up for, okay, I've got the Baltimore, I've got 2 highly correlated. I like wide receivers I like a lot later on. But again, we'll see how it plays out. I also think like this is a potential for Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor, and I think like that's pretty strong value if one of those 2 falls.
We got the QB round.
There goes Mahomes with the Chase team. Not the most surprising there.
Yeah, nothing really too crazy. It was interesting to see Bijan's ADP all the way up to 7. Like he's almost neck and neck with Austin Eckler. And I love Bijan, but that seems a little bit too rich considering the questions about usage in that offense, especially with Algier. Are you feeling the same way about Bijan as a target, Justin?
For me, Bijan, I think it comes down to the training camp highlights that really have propelled him forward a bit. People saw that first play on Twitter 1,000 times. Like, that's not surprising at all. I mean, they're going to run the ball so many times, but like, yeah, I think Algier, I think CPAT, I think both those players have a role. I think it's going to overall be a bit of a slow and like just trudge tame. So I do like Bijan. There's a statistic out there that I think it's 7 of the last 8 running backs that were drafted in the first 3 rounds of fantasy outperformed their fantasy projections. And I think like Bijan's makes sense. So I like him where he's being drafted. I like him in that pocket, but I do have him a substantial, like a tier behind the Austin Eckler.
Just less uncertainty.
Yeah, I think he gets an even better bump in PPR. I think the scoring for this isn't quite as optimal for what I think he may be used as.
He needs a lot of touchdowns. And if the Falcons could have a crazy good offense next season, Gibbs going early. So I think I'm here for Lamar.
They're such a mystery box.
I think I'm here for Lamar at 31.
Yeah.
So you would want to go Lamar over Jacobs?
I would almost like Jacobs.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
2 to 3. I'll let you drive that because Jacobs
There
is
you go.
a great play here. So Lamar or Jacobs, I'm easy either way.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it as like a closing line value thing. And Lamar, like we know everything we know about Lamar. Jacobs, assuming this news is accurate, he literally should be being drafted like right around Derrick Henry, like end of the second. So
Yeah.
we're now getting a very good deal on a strong player at position of need.
Yeah, that's a pretty good draft. If you're just looking at how last year ended, Jacobs, Jalen Waddle, and Travis Kelce's pretty solid to start. I guess then at 42, who's going to be available? I mean, that's where we're probably going to get another wide receiver at 42. That's Drake.
Assuming Lamar doesn't take a just crazy fall.
Yeah, that's best case situation. You're looking at, like, I'm trying to see who's in. Wow, DJ Moore at 34. That is pretty high. His steam ever since he caught that screen touchdown has been.
DJ.
Yeah, it's been crazy to see the preseason effect.
Yeah. As the resident Bears fan,
ADP.
I love DJ Moore, but going in the third round is probably about his ceiling.
Okay, there's Lamar.
The only defensible argument there is if you're going DJ Moore and then you're going to go Justin Fields at 39, and then you're like, playing the stack, trying to
Bijan.
be a little unique.
They have week 17
Yeah, you got
Bijan
the
too.
Correlation there too.
So they have the correlation. That makes more sense.
This feels like
Wow.
like you almost have to take Fields at that point on the comeback.
Robust RB here at number 12. Chubb, Saquon, and Najee all off the board.
Yeah, Nick Chubb has really risen like a full round since kind of midsummer. He was going like early 20s, and it felt like absolutely stealing back in like July or so. And it's like, if he gets out of the first round these drafts, it's kind of a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd rather have Tony Pollard than Nick Chubb straight up. I get the Nick Chubb, obviously a fantastic runner, but like he's also getting old up there, and like we are banking on this magical that he's going to start catching balls, which he hasn't done his entire career.
There's Justin, yeah.
And yeah, when you look at like who else he's competing against, and then Jerome Ford has the injury, like everything in the offseason has just gone well for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, robust Ian. They go Ramondre there.
Yes,
so.
that was insane.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
4 running backs to start is I don't know how they're going to land that plane. So it looks like we're going to have a choice between Keenan, Watson, Mike Watson off the board. So Keenan, Mike Williams, Drake London, Terry McLaurin. I don't think there's any major correlation here for week 17 or stacking. Justin, what are your thoughts here?
I love Keenan. I think Keenan is a little bit above the rest of these players. We're also getting about a half a round of ADP value, which is quite large this early in a draft. So that's where I'd go.
Okay, I'm gonna go Keenan here. It opens up the door too for Herbert potentially at 55. He's going around 53, 54. I'd be pretty happy to leave this draft with Justin Herbert if it falls that way. Wow, yeah.
I agree with that. I'm trying to say, what pick would that be for us? 48, 54, 55? It's like right at ADP.
Yeah, right at ADP.
I mean, Justin Herbert
the
could be
Mike
special
Williams
this year.
team.
We saw what he did the year before, fully healthy.
Mike Williams hasn't gone off the board yet.
I'm all in.
So last year I took a major stand. I was pretty public about it, but I had 0% Justin Herbert. And it was not that I didn't like him as a player. It's not that I didn't like his weapons. It was purely where he was being drafted. Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes were all being drafted right at the same spot. And so for Herbert to beat his value last year, he needed to have an absolute outlier of an efficiency season. And I got a little lucky that obviously Keenan Allen got hurt and things like that. But the thesis was never about him. It was more of the other QBs. And we saw Jalen Hurts. We saw when Lamar was healthy, that rushing upside, that rushing floor just cannot be matched from Justin Herbert. This year, though, it's different where Justin Herbert is still being drafted around the same spot in that kind of 50s, but those other guys have moved up to that second beginning of the third round. So this year, I am now back in on Justin Herbert. I'm bullish on the entire offense. They're one of the fastest offenses in the league, running to more than 2 snaps per game. You then bring in Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator who himself loves a fast-paced, longer average depth of target as well. And I think someone like Quentin Johnston coming in there is just a major uptick over what we saw last year. So overall, I'm very bullish on the Chargers. I've already talked a little about Austin Eckler, but yeah, give me as much. The only downside of the Chargers is as a group, they're all pretty expensive. So it's not like we're going to really hit a value on them, but I'm still buying.
Yeah, we're with you on the Chargers offense train. It's kind of give me all the shares.
How are you approaching Eckler? Because I know you mentioned they're going to have a larger ADOT. How do you think that impacts Eckler in terms of, because I mean, it seems like last year was a bit of an outlier reception season. Do you think it's just fine? It's okay if he regresses a bit there?
I mean, for Austin Eckler, it's really come down to would he get the goal line work? Because in the past 3-4 years, like his target volume has been very strong. And like that's always been a fantastic part of his game and a highly projectable one. It was just they never really felt comfortable giving him that goal line work. And going into last year, we were trying to figure out, is it Justin Jackson? Again, maybe take some of it. Is it Josh Kelly? Like, does he actually earn it? We saw like, yes, he did. And so as long as he continues his same role of getting the high value touches, which I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case, the offense elevating as a whole is just a major plus for him. And so what? He finished last year as probably the RB, I think maybe 1 or 2. And this year, I think that's, barring injury, the highest likely result.
Okay, cool. That's kind of where I'm at here, but you see people on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it that are kind of anti-Austin Eckler this season, which is crazy to me. The guy scores like 40 touchdowns over 2 years. It's like I want him on all my fantasy teams.
The only thing I can think is like I was anti-Austin Eckler back in like June or maybe it was May when he was making announcements like he didn't want to play for them. He wanted to be traded, all of that. But once it was clear, like, no, he was there, he's playing, then I was like, all right, I'm all in. This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
It was a little bad vibes at first, and then every running back had bad vibes, and then he figured his out. So it was nice to see that. So I think we're gonna get Herbert here. I don't.
Waller.
Yeah, Waller's getting steamed, but
This person did draft Austin Eckler, so it wouldn't be shocking
you're
if they
right.
ended up going Herbert.
That's true.
I do believe that we should be able, that he'll likely fall to us. And who else is the best available player if he doesn't? Okay.
So we have Herbert. So
That worked.
yeah, other options are probably I mean
Herbert.
let's pick Herbert. That's an easy one. Okay, that's fun. And Jacobs and
That's a good
Herbert
start.
and Keenan will
Yep.
play each other twice a year too, so there's a little bit of inherent correlation in the divisions. Okay, so I feel pretty good about this start. Josh Jacobs in the third round is this late in the third round does really feel like an ADP steal. I feel like I was a bit hesitant to hit the draft button or click it because of just kind of the overall uncertainty. A lot of people have questioned the fact that he might be one of those guys who could hold out, but he really doesn't have much leverage, and he was so good last season.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like, this is why I think over the past 2 weeks, his ADP has fallen to that 30-31 area. And it's been like, yeah, there's been concern. And so there's kind of a, hey, risk reward scenario if you wanted to draft him. After that news that came out today, like, even if you don't have full confidence in it, you should at least expect, okay, he should be a early third. And then once we know for sure, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think on Underdog, maybe I'll have Henry right above him. And like on PPR sites, I'd have Jacobs right ahead of Henry. Like, I think that's kind of a very close in the area where Jacobs should be being drafted once we know he'll be back.
That's fair.
Okay, so in pick 66, we're kind of in firmly dead zone territory with running backs. Probably have a good pick of the litter here, wide receiver.
Yep.
I mean, Broncos probably. Cortland Sutton doesn't go until the 90s. I mean, Michael Pittman, who's been kind of a shy away from a lot of people, he does have correlation here with Josh Jacobs. I don't think any Bengals are going off here at 66, so I'm going to jump from the board here.
No, I'd be shocked, yeah.
Kind of like, okay, J.K. Dobbins off the board. What are we thinking here?
I'd go one of those wide receivers.
Marquise Brown,
Sanders or Akers. I'd rather go. I'd be okay with Marquise Brown personally. Either him or Lockett.
I mean, Lockett feels safer. I'm gonna go Lockett here. Part of the Seahawks.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
5-pick ADP.
Yeah, I think that's the safest
right
pick.
around ADP or better, and like it's never the sexiest pick, but he kind of just performs every year. Like the JSN edition is a little concerning, but you figure kind of just frees up everyone to some degree. So it'll be interesting to see how the target breakdowns is going to work there. But I still like Tyler Lockett, just super underrated.
He's the cheapest piece of the pass game. Sorry, Justin, but yeah, what were you saying?
No, you're good. And when I'm thinking about like wide receivers, I love to go for contingency upside. And something on Seattle, like you've got two opportunities for either DK or JSN. One of them gets hurt, and now you're a highly more concentrated offense that's a very good passing team with Geno at the helm. Yeah. If we compare to Marquise Brown, I guess your contingency upside is like Kyler comes back earlier. So like there is a bet there, but like there's no, hey, Marquise is going to increase his target share kind of in the projection scenario. Or I think like we also could have been George Pickens or something. Like honestly, if like Deontay or Freiermuth, one of those, I don't know, like Allen Robinson, like someone that gets hurt, I'm not expecting like George Pickens because you still have Kenny Pickett throwing to him. You still have like a Pittsburgh team that's a bit more kind of run first. It's not like they truly get elevated from a contingency standpoint.
You're kind of drafting him because of projectable volume. He was good last year in his first 5 starts of the season. I think he might be a better redraft pick than best ball, in my opinion.
I'll see if Quentin Johnston falls here.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean his ADP is like 80 right now. So if we could get a
right around
QJ
there
here and Sutton at 90, I think those are right at ADP and would be great back to back
for the stack.
There's been some good buzz around Cortland Sutton this offseason. They say he looks good again.
Yeah, I mean, so going into the season, we're a little concerned because new coaching staff trades up to grab Marvin Mims. There's been rumors of kind of trades back and forth. And so, like, there was reason to understand, like, be a little concerned about, does Cortland Sutton just kind of disappear? Like, is this the Judy and eventually the Mims show? And then Tim Patrick as well, who, like, rumors say he was the best wide receiver in the room. When Tim Patrick got hurt, that's when it's like, okay, it doesn't matter anymore. Cortland Sutton has a guaranteed role.
Yeah, there's only so many people there now. It's,
Right. So even if you're bullish on Marvin Mims kind of taking that next step. All right, so Quentin Johnston, we had he's at 82 right now.
Yeah. Zay Flowers is interesting. Jordan Addison, 7 picks of ADP.
Too.
He's not
really
a part
fit
of
with anyone, but
correlation, but okay, Jordan Addison off the board. So Zay Flowers is interesting. That's basically right at ADP. Quentin Johnston completes a Chargers stack. Michael Pittman also has week 17, and then Jahan Dotson would be uncorrelated. Probably Quentin or Zay Flowers, right? That probably makes.
I think Quentin.
Yeah, let's go QJ. Let's go all in on the Chargers. I think the stack is. Remember, when we're looking at the best ball pyramid, team stacking. And then week 17. So,
and just one thing to keep an eye on. I think we have 3 wide receivers with the bye week of 5.
Yeah,
not something I'm fully concerned about, but just to keep in mind. Probably don't want to be focusing on more of those bye week 5 going forward.
So next pick, 90th pick, I've got the ADP up here. Cortland Sutton goes at 92. Some running backs worth calling out: Isaiah Pacheco, Dalvin Cook, Khalil Herbert, 96. Rachaad White at 85. Potentially if Rachaad White falls, that could be a really solid RB2, uncorrelated, but I think he has a lot of opportunity in that offense to be a great RB2 later on in the draft. What are we thinking? Running back or wide receiver? Or just kind of let the board talk to us.
Let's see what's available. I'd probably lean running back, just given kind of where we are at the draft with just Josh Jacobs, but let's definitely see kind of how the board speaks to us, who's available. James Conner.
Yeah, I think
James Conner.
getting that bring back for Cortland Sutton for our primary stack, I think does have substantial value, and it's also kind of the end of the wide receiver tier after that. So getting 5 there, I feel pretty good about. If we were looking at running backs, I think I'd probably put Isaiah Pacheco at the top, given Isaiah Pacheco just returned to practice today. So if you want to say, like, from an ADP wise, if he's hitting his bottom, this is probably the time. But I mean, we can take a look who's there, but it probably still feels like a Sutton.
There goes Rashad.
Yeah. And
This guy really
Zach
has no
Charbonnet.
need to take Sutton looking at his team.
Yeah, Zach Charbonnet at 103 would be available if he's there for the Tyler Lockett
Okay,
team
so there
stack
goes
if you wanted to
Herbert.
go that route. I'm cool with Sutton. I think that gives us really nice week 17, and we could go get Mims later on,
think
and
so
we could get Greg Dulcich if we wanted to as well.
Yeah, we're looking at 5 really strong wide receivers too, in my opinion. We've kind of put a bow on a really solid foundation there, and now we can kind of hammer some value at running backs, start to kind of get a couple bringbacks.
Yeah, I like that. I think this will probably be a 7 wide receiver team, but we don't need to devote the capital to it pretty much until we figure out who our second stack partner is, and then try to kind of get a late stack there. That as long as it's not by week 5. I like how this team is really playing out.
Justin, question for you. Thoughts on team stacks? Like, do you think it's positive EV to have Charbonnet plus Lockett? Or, like, does it matter in terms of having the running back and wide receiver?
For me in general, I think it's making a bet on an offense as a whole. And so even the most extreme situation is probably Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. And I'm perfectly content grabbing those two in the second and third round together. We've seen we saw weeks last year where on the top DFS lineup of Millie Maker Tourney teams, like you had Devontae and Josh Jacobs, and they were just putting up absurd numbers. So we've seen across the board, like, hey, there's opportunities for, if it's the right style of offense, for both a running back and a wide receiver to win together. I think an example as well. So like if you do the Dallas Detroit, a lot of times you end up with like, okay, I go CD Lamb and I went Amon-Ra St. Brown, and maybe I'm then going to go Dak for the Dallas side, but I want to grab another for the Detroit side for just a shootout, and you grab David Montgomery. I think for me, it comes down to if I'm grabbing a pass-catching running back and a wide receiver, then I want to make sure I have the QB as well. If I'm doing something like a Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco, like it's not as important for me to have the Patrick Mahomes to go with it, because I'm saying like, hey, when it's in the air, it's one guy, it's Kelce. Then it's on the ground, and the ground success is leverage against, in a 1-week sample, not having Patrick Mahomes. So in a week 17 where Kansas City's playing Cincinnati and Travis Kelce has, I don't know, maybe it's 1 touchdown and 120 yards, that's a really good game for a tight end, obviously. And then maybe Pacheco has 2 on the ground rushing. Us not having the Patrick Mahomes stack actually helps us, because Mahomes maybe only have like an 18-point day or something, and that's devoting a second-round draft pick that other teams are. Well, in this situation, it's 5th round with Herbert, and maybe we get 28 out of Herbert or something.
Yeah. That creates the leverage, like you said. So would you feel good about Charbonnet at 103?
I think that's a bit of a reach. What's his ADP right now? Like
103.
12, 13? Oh, it is?
Yeah, his ADP is 103. I'm looking at it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Rashad is still going high.
I do like Charbonnet a lot. What do we have available? I mean, running back is the right position. That definitely fits from a build-wise.
We're on the clock. So Dylan, Gibson, Charbonnet, Bateman, Michael Thomas, OBJ. Pat Freiermuth has correlation with Seattle.
Yeah, we don't have
But
any Niners.
second
No,
running back,
Gibson.
and he has crazy contingency upside if something were to happen to Walker.
I think Charbonnet. I like it.
Okay,
I like it.
cool.
I think we've drafted a ton of Charbonnet. Mainly just because we've been drafting a ton of Seahawks, I think, is part of it. To your point around just kind of betting on good offenses, it's just he's one of the cheapest pieces. And if anything was to happen to Kenneth Walker, who does have some injury concerns over his career, you've just slid right into a running back one there.
Yeah, and this next pick, so 114. You mentioned Freiermuth. I don't love taking another tight end in this spot.
That's right.
We have
Yeah,
Kelce.
we have Kelce.
But the pit aspect is, I mean, hey, there is some value in a pit, and like another piece from the pit area. But maybe
It's a unique.
in the 11th we grab like a Jalen Warren or something.
Yeah. It's a unique way because if you'd have two
It's
good tight
unique,
ends,
yep.
but yeah, it's an overkill is the question.
Right. Like if we would have drafted, I think like TJ Hawkinson or something, I think it makes a little more sense. But we've expended so much capital in Travis Kelce at the top that going for, hey, a 10th rounder when there's like legitimate running backs or kind of other pieces available, it's a little tough to stomach.
Is Geno overkill here because we had Herbert in the 5th, Geno in the 4th, like in the 10th? Is that necessary?
I think it depends who's available. I think it's a little, we don't love it, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it either.
He would be at ADP. Tyler
Looking at the
Boyd.
board,
Tyler Boyd is there with Kelce, Geno. Samaje Perine is interesting.
I'd probably put Pirine right now as our top one.
Perine has the week 17. We need.
That's more
enticing, and he's a pass catching back. Okay, I'm good with Perine here.
No, it's our position of need. It's really hammering that, hey, like we're going week 17. It's going to be a Chargers Broncos shootout. And what I was looking to see is like, okay, was DK drafted in one of the first 3 teams? Because those 3 teams all have an elite QB. DK
went in the 4th.
They got Burrow.
All
right, so the Burrow team may grab Geno, but if he doesn't, I think there's a decent chance that Geno may fall back to us.
There's the JSN team. The JSN team here at 5 has Kirk Cousins.
He's got 2 QBs.
Oh, that's right. He's already got Hurts.
And Jalen Hurts.
He's got Hurts. There goes Geno, actually. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
He doesn't have it.
I mean, that person's doing some wonky stuff. They got Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah.
George Pickens for
either one
Geno.
of their QBs are stacked, if I'm seeing this correctly. No.
We got some casual people that are starting to draft on Underdog. We start seeing it. It hurts sometimes because you lose your stacks, but like at the end of the day, it's still better for your overall kind of
Beast Mode 24.
And honestly, it's
Seahawks.
There is an argument that as we get like right now drafting, it's more okay to reach a little for your stack because there are more people that are taking uncorrelated QBs to hurt your stack. So if you want to reach to get it, I think it's more okay because also you're probably going to find falling value elsewhere in the draft.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just a call out here, Jalen Warren, ADP 126. We're picking at 127 here. Warren would make a ton of sense with the Seahawks that we have.
Yeah, that'd be a great one. QBs, any other QBs that we're kind of lining up for, or otherwise it's really just going to be setting up a late stack, it seems like.
Yeah. And, back end stacks.
Looking at what we have.
Back end stacks could be Bryce, could be CJ Stroud. Jalen Warren off the board, 121.
They're so cheap.
It could be Pat Freiermuth.
With Kenny.
Oh, I think Pat. I think Pat. Oh, yeah, that's right. If we get Kenny, we could do Kenny Pickett.
No, sorry, not Pat. Pat Freiermuth just went.
Yeah.
So could still go like Jalen Warren and Pickett. Not the best, but maybe an 18th round Allen Robinson.
Oh, Warren just went there at the 1 slot. Actually.
Yeah, Warren's gone. Okay, so
you're right. Okay,
we're about to be on the clock. Lazard, Zay Jones, Jacoby Myers. We could do like a Jimmy Garoppolo stack, like a really cheap one at the end. Running backs is pretty dried up here.
Could go
Rodgers.
I mean, there's lots of late Rodgers stuff. If you wanted like Conklin, Corey Davis, Nicole Hardman.
I mean, you've got Wilson a little ahead of ADP, and then maybe Mims on the way back, but you're kind of gambling there. And
yeah, and
Wilson
we
would
already
be ahead
have
of ADP.
Herbert, and we'd already have Herbert.
I'd rather
too.
wait to see if Ross. I'm not.
Yeah,
I do love Zay Jones just as like
just a standalone guy.
best available.
I'm down to take a Zay Jones. I think there's a ton of contingency
Let's
upside.
do it.
What is his
Nothing
buy
really
to?
fits
Bye
the
week
puzzle here
9?
in terms of the stack or the correlation.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're okay with the bye week 9. That's right. It's bye week.
Yeah,
5.
bye week 5. Yeah, so I think the only person right there that Jacoby Myers could have made sense with Josh Jacobs, but
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that Raiders offense. That would have been a lot of capital there.
All that excited about it personally with Jimmy leading the charge, but
We could have gotten Jimmy
if we had a more elite QB
for free. Yeah. Okay, so around 138, we're looking at like Tyler Algier, Tyler Higbee, Van Jefferson. Oh, we could get Valdez-Scantling and do a Chiefs situation. We could get Raheem Mostert. It would be a little early for Mostert, but we would have the correlation. I mean, we'd have the stack with Jalen Waddle. So there's things that we can do here. Running back is going to be a little tight, though.
yeah, it's going to be a little bit.
What is Mostert's ADP?
Mostert's ADP right now is 144. So we're 6 picks above ADP if we took Mostert at 138.
I wouldn't be shocked if he goes before he even comes to us. His ADP is becoming a substantial value. He's a guy I've been targeting in the past week and a half. Devin A. Chain has a shoulder injury, considered week to week, maybe ready for week 1, but everything we've seen out of preseason, like he's not going to be a high value, like a high amount touch anywhere near early in the season. So Mostert could be like early weeks, he's really helping us until like the Charbonnet and such kind of show out. And then also Raheem Mostert, he's still very fast and like has that kind of big play upside in the Miami offense. So I'd be very happy and have no problem drafting like a Mostert 6 above ADP.
I would like Mostert.
I got far more comfortable drafting him once like Dalvin and Zeke signed too. It just felt like there was something looming, like someone was going to go there, but I feel so much more comfortable with him playing a pretty integral part of that offensive rush and attack now.
I liked Mostert there. We need to shore up our running back room.
Yep.
I like the correlation, or I like the stacking with Jalen Waddle. And then we could do like
checks a couple boxes.
A late round Gus Edwards too to get into that week 17 correlation, but we can play that later on. Greg Dulcich would be available at 151. I know there are some concerns about route participation, but Dulcich is there at 151 for the stack. Jordan Love is kind of going in that range.
Let's get a quick refresher on the team.
Yes.
Because I think we need to start thinking about just like what our QB2 plan is going to be.
So Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, Tyler Lockett, Quentin Johnston, Cortland Sutton, Charbonnet, P. Ryan, Zay Jones, Raheem Mostert. So Bryce Young would have correlation with Zay Jones, and then we could easily build out a Carolina stack with Bryce Young if we wanted to go that route.
I think that's sharp. I think that makes sense. From a draft structure, I'm leaning towards like 2-6-7-2, which gives you one extra luxury pick. And then we could figure out where that goes. But getting one of the Carolina pass catchers, getting Bryce, getting Hayden Hurst as our second tight end, that feels, and already having the Zay Jones, like that feels like a really good call.
So Bryce would come off
really cheap in drafts.
Yeah, I actually think
he's my highest owned tight end.
Me too. I have so much Hayden Hurst.
12 to 14% on him.
I've got so much Hurst. Okay, so Bryce Young goes at 190. That feels like the play here. And then we could get Mingo. We could get Chark. Or is Chark off the board already? No, I think this is right in play
Chark
here.
Should still be available.
Pick 12 last round.
Okay, so Chark went really early.
Right. Okay, yep.
Wow. Oh, this is the guy who took 4 running backs to start. So yeah, he's reaching.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
You need to play catch up.
He has no QBs or tight ends, I believe. I want to say
4 running backs, and then still grabs James Conner. Oof.
You just got to get your guys sometimes, Justin. Okay, so I think it's get your guys season.
Okay, let's pause. Russell Wilson now makes a lot of sense.
Even if we have Herbert, like, do you care about the correlation there?
So for me, in general, I don't love having the same 2 QBs from the same game. But right now, at Russell Wilson, we've already got a stack with Cortland Sutton, Samaje Perine.
15 picks
We
of
have
ADP.
that game. And we're getting him at 35, 45, more around and change of ADP. I think Russell Wilson is the clear one than trying to like perfect the back stack.
I'm here for it. I think if we're getting approval from, because that makes a ton of sense. And no, I don't think Mims will be there. Mims is already off the board. Maybe Dulcich has been sliding. Maybe we get Dulcich at 162. I don't know, but we'll see. Mingo goes right there.
Yeah, we've got
Mingo
some
would have been a good
flexibility
pick.
now that we've locked in the QB2, to Justin's point.
And
I think we got a very nice value there in Russell Wilson, around and change past that ADP for where we already had Cortland Sutton that we didn't need to manufacture and hope for another one.
And the question there too is in week 17.
I think this also locks us into 2 QBs.
Yes. In week 17, is Russell Wilson? I mean, is Bryce Young really going to outscore Justin Herbert, right? Because we're playing for 17, and that's like the question. So I think that's fair. We go with Russell Wilson. It probably gets us closer to advancing.
Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett, back-to-back picks.
The general logic for not wanting 2 QBs in the same week 17 game is that QBs highly correlate with each other in a 1-game sample size. So when one does well, the other one does as well. So you're really just kind of limiting your opportunities in that, hey, if Justin Herbert has a good game, then like Russell Wilson does as well. And if he doesn't, then the other one doesn't. It's better off and to be like, hey, let me get another dart throw of Bryce Young or whatever. But when you're getting all the value that we've talked through, gosh, I do not like Greg Dulcich, but like it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And I know the route participation
I'd
stuff
rather go
is...
Gerald Everett.
Oh yeah,
I would
good
take
call.
Gerald Everett over him.
Yeah, well, let's take Everett. Let's go all in on the Chargers. Greg Dulcich has been a fan favorite of this podcast, and then preseason came out. He was basically splitting reps with Adam Troutman and competing for routes with Marvin Mims, and it was like, ooh, okay. I'm definitely gonna have to be cautious with Dulcich this season based off of like the route participation stuff.
That's fair.
I mean, it's the same what we saw basically last year with the Broncos at tight end.
With Alberto, if he gets Alberto, I'm going to be
like.
I mean, that's what it kind of feels like, right?
Yeah. No, Justin, we're not going
limit
there.
yourself to like only a certain amount of people per stack, Justin. Like now that we've got the QB, 2 wideouts, and tight end, do you typically stop at say 2-3 people, or what's kind of your safe spot there that you like to hang in?
So the data kind of shows you want to have normally between 3 and 5 as part of your stack. That includes quarterback, but it heavily depends on how much draft capital you're allocating. So, for example, if you're going to have gone with, hey, the Bengals, and you go Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow, and then you're like, oh, I actually got Tyler Boyd too, and now you're considering Irv Smith. Like, yeah, you're right. That's still in our 3 to 5. But you've invested so heavily into those first 3 picks. The opposite might be Daniel Jones, where you miss out on Darren Waller, you grab Daniel Jones. And if you want to grab 4 different wide receivers at the very end, because you went heavy on running back and elite tight end early on, like that's perfectly fine because 4 guys at the end is less draft capital than 2 at the very beginning.
Makes sense. Sean's a big Daniel Jones guy, so you're speaking his language there.
Love Daniel Jones.
He's my highest owned QB. Yeah.
I love Danny Dimes. His ADP makes no sense.
0 cents. 0 cents. After how he played last year.
QB9 of the year last year, 705 rushing yards, within 50 yards of the elites of Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, and Lamar in rushing. And I mean, you have
like 6 rounds
practice squad playing with practice squad
we
wide
got upgrades
receivers.
with Evan Ingram, drafting Jalen Hyatt. Yeah. Dayball offense.
Yes.
Like we also, what Dayball was able to do in year one with 0 wide receivers and tight ends. And, there's also this Saquon guy who's really good out of the backfield and catching passes. Like everything.
There's a lot of things to like. That
And their O-line's
don't really
good
make
too.
sense for his ADP.
Like Andrew Thomas is one of the best tackles in football, and Evan Neal should be better in year 2. It's setting up like they're going to be a really good offense.
That division.
Okay, so from our team, we have I think we're pretty locked in now to 2-6-8-2. So there's last 4 because we have Kelce. We're good there. I think our
tight end. I don't think.
No.
Given
Herbert and Ross is really strong, and we don't have like a late major stack we're hitting on.
Yeah.
So it's now kind of just best players available for 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers.
The Gus Edwards train could be leaving the station here. Just throwing that out there. I don't know how everyone feels about Gus Bus.
I mean, the reports are that he's playing behind Justice Hill. I don't even trust him to be the number 2 in that offense.
Yeah, the reports aren't great.
Yeah, he is farther down.
The reports on Dulcich
are
are devastating. Shahid's out there, I think. Oh no, he's off the board. Okay. Tank Dell, Curtis Samuel. Oh no, Shahid is there. You're getting him a little earlier, but he's interesting.
This is an interesting group of players available.
Could take Chuba, but Chuba could fall to us. What are you thinking, Justin?
I'd go Deonta or Curtis Samuel.
I'm down for Curtis Samuel.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we don't have much ownership at him.
We have a couple Niners
next to Dotson and Terry.
Yeah, we have a couple Niner stacks with Samuel.
Yeah, and I could see a world with Curtis Samuel where Eric Bieniemy is actually using him a bit more of as a gadget guy and just trying to get him open in space.
True.
And I think the offense in general is just going to be a bit, it's going to be an improved offense.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Howell actually looked really good in his preseason game. So I think there's a lot of things to like there. And Curtis Samuel has been a good football player, has had some great seasons.
It's health. It's been health for Curtis Samuel.
Round, man. I love that for him. The Tank Dell hype train is absolutely exploding.
I mean, you look at what we just did where we're like, I don't know what to do. But then in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, but Tank Dell had that one preseason game.
Right.
And like, so all of your priors just go out the window.
Yeah.
All of the rankings that you're using are out the window. And you're just thinking about this recency bias of this one player and how they're
in the preseason.
I get it. I don't want it, but I get it. Yeah.
Deuce Vaughn is here at 190. Oh my goodness. I haven't drafted in like 4 or 5 days. I did not know Deuce was at 190. Wow. And Justin Ross, that's way too high.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I use rankings, so a lot of these players I just never actually see in the drafts.
You know,
we
could make some sense.
were doing ETR rankings for a while. What, Aiden?
It's too early, but Hunter Renfrow I think is a decent dart throw. But it's a little early on him.
Yep.
Just kind of looking who else
I
makes
don't hate Hunter
sense
Renfrow at all.
for
I
the
think
build.
Deonta Foreman is probably our last tier of running backs. And then I think it's important to go running back here. So then we have flexibility with the last 2.
And
otherwise, if we go wide,
and the 80, we got 13 picks of ADP on Foreman, and I don't think people are going to be rushing up to draft Hunter Renfrow. He has not been people don't love the vibes, so hopefully maybe he falls to us at 199.
He seems like a guy that could help
ETR
Jimmy
loves
a
him from a
ton.
pure projection.
This guy has 3 running backs, and one of them is Kenny Gainwell. Eckler, Etienne,
Who were the first 2?
Eckler, Etienne, and Gainwell, and Gus Edwards. What a core 4!
It's interesting.
Oof.
Yeah, if you're gonna go for running backs, you want 4
taking a look at our-
studs.
I can't.
I mean, or you can grab 4 studs with the first 4 and then grab a 5th in James Conner.
That guy just went on streaks of the same position. It was a ton of running backs, ton of wide receivers. James Conner, ton more wideouts, then 3 QBs.
And he's going to go 3 tight ends
This
to
is-
close. He's going to go 3 tight ends to close.
So if you,
I've got to assume it.
He will. If you did this 2 years ago, the strategy worked better because in the 10th, 11th, and 12th, you could get better wide receivers. You could grab Garrett Wilson in the 10th or 11th. Here, you're in the 9th, and he's stuck with Romeo Dobbs, Nico Collins, Michael Gallup, DJ Chark. Like,
It's dark.
it's rough. And that's where you just can't afford to kind of be passing on all these wide receivers in the first 8 rounds.
You almost could flip it now where you take 4 to 5 wide receivers to start, take a bunch of running backs, take your quarterbacks, and then take your tight ends. Like, that would probably make more sense.
100%.
But-
Yeah, especially, I mean, so you go 5 straight wide receivers, maybe it's even 6 straight wide receivers if you really wanted to. You could go 4 straight running backs, and like in the 7th, 8th, like take a look at the running backs that are available, 7th, 8th, 9th. Like, those are solid running backs.
sure.
I like it. And then doing your late, I still think like in those first 8, I'd probably rather get an elite QB in there as well. So maybe it's like 5 receivers, 1 QB, and then you're going like 3 running backs, 4 running backs. I think that becomes like probably a team that I've done a few times.
All right, at 199, I'm going to go to the available players here. Oh, I think Renfro is going to make
Let's
it to
make
us.
sure bye weeks we're not messing.
By weeks 13.
Yeah, how are we looking on bye weeks real quick?
13,
Anything scary?
5. Running back's okay. 10,
No, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
there.
Our quarterbacks aren't in the same buy. Okay, perfect. I think
You've got
Renfro.
You've got Clyde. No, we
Clyde's
don't have anything in that
interesting.
stack actually. Yeah, we do.
We have Kelce. I kind of like Renfro here. He makes sense.
I like Renfro.
I agree with Renfro.
Cool. Or we
And
just
if we need a backup plan,
go Taysom. Just for the
Darius Slayton's
Okay,
not bad either.
I like
He's gonna be-
Slayton, yeah.
He's got a
I'm down for Slayton or Renfro. But if you can add Taysom to any team, you just do it, right? Like that's just the
Yeah, I've got more exposure to him than I'd like, but it's just like I can just talk myself into Taysom having like a handful of 2 touchdown weeks, and you're like, there we go. Like, and then I don't have to figure out what week it is.
last year he was ridiculous.
Oh, so Renfro wins.
yes.
So we had to go Slayton.
We did
Okay,
had to go
I
to
missed that.
Slayton, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got snaked on Renfro. But he had Alec Pierce and Anthony Richardson, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
this guy's gonna
All
take
right.
a tight end.
Late round running backs. What are we looking at? What are our favorites?
I like Ty Chandler,
Ty's gone.
Chandler's gone.
Lombardi
Got
Lenny,
Clyde, Corderell.
Deion Jackson flying up the boards of the Taylor
Why
news.
won't Fournette just signed somewhere already?
What about Chris Evans or Chase Brown,
I was
the
gonna say
running
Chase
back
Brown is there.
for the pass catching back for the Bengals potentially with Kelce? I don't know.
I think it looks like it's going to be Chris Evans, but also Travion Williams has been hurt throughout, so
Yeah.
like this might be a little misleading. There's Josh Kelly as well. You're continuing with the Chargers aspects, and you're basically making a bet that, hey, in situations that Eckler gets hurt, the rest of the team really excels, and so let us also get some of that with Josh Kelly.
Good point.
It's unique too. Not a lot of people are drafting Josh Kelly.
No, at this point in the drafts, especially right now, we know who the players have not been drafted. So I'm always trying to find a running back in this late. That's just like no one has been taking throughout the year. So maybe just if you can click on running back, just so they can get a better.
Good point.
Kieran Williams is another one. No correlation for us, but I believe he's going to be the pass down back, and the team really likes him.
We don't have any Saints, do we? I was gonna say Sean Tucker's been generating a bit of buzz, but I don't think we've got anything there.
Yeah, I'd probably go with the Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
Hey, there's
Yeah, it
Eckler gets hurt,
makes
then
sense.
the rest of the guys all elevate together.
Wow, look at
There it
that.
is.
We
2682.
completed a draft from the 107 with the one and only Justin Herzig. Started with Travis Kelce, Jalen Waddle in the second, scooped up value on Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert to start the Chargers stack, Tyler Lockett, Quentin Johnson here, Cortland Sutton with the Chargers bring back, Zach Charbonnet with the Tyler Lockett bring back for week 17, Samaje Perine correlation with Cortland Sutton and with the Chargers players. Zay Jones uncorrelated, but we just like the value and contingency upside. Raheem Mostert with Jalen Waddle. We are okay taking the same quarterbacks in week 17 because we got 16 picks of ADP value there on Russell Wilson, Gerald Everett, continuing our theme of Chargers, and then just kind of taking best player available, Curtis Samuel, Donta Foreman, Darius Slayton, and rounding out with Joshua Kelly. What do we think about the team?
I think it's a pretty solid squad. I like it. This is a team that I probably have drafted a few of, just going with the Chargers and such. I think this team worked out really well. I'm excited. What are we doing with our $1 million each? How we spending it?
Oh, Aidan, you go first. What are you gonna do with it?
$1 million? I'm just booking like a one-way flight to Europe or Southeast Asia and just go hang out for a couple months and then come home, buy a house, and figure something out.
I'm hanging out with Cliff Kingsbury. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to Bali. We're hanging out.
There you go.
It's going to be a great time. Probably try and buy a house in California, so I'll need 4 more best ball wins before I can be able to do that.
It'll be a good investment for next year. BBM 7, that is definitely when you can finally afford an account.
Yes.
Justin, thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you for hopping on. This was a blast. And until next time.
Cheers, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Justin.
Cool. So Justin.